Am I the butthole for making my daughter sleep in a tent? I, 34 female, am a single mother to 2 girls, Jasmine, 16 female, and Jessica, 14 female. Their dad died when I was pregnant with Jess, and I had to work hard. We hit rock bottom, and I was barely making paycheck to paycheck, but I managed to get a degree, become successful, and we live well. Point is, I know how effing hard it is to be at the bottom of society, and my daughters know this, which is why I was livid at my daughter's actions. Yesterday, Jasmine showed me a video of Jessica cussing a homeless man out and telling him, "Stop asking me for money, you'd earn it yourself if you weren't so effing lazy and spending what you earned on substances." When the homeless man complained about the cold, "We live in New England," Jessica responded, "Yeah, people camp for fun, even in December. You can't complain, you're living someone's holiday." Fury was an understatement for what I felt, as I thought I had raised an empathetic daughter. Along with finding the homeless man and making her apologize and help pay for a hotel room for a night for him, she paid £20, as well as signing her up to volunteer at a food bank. I decided to take her up on her offer of sleeping outside. I locked her bedroom door so she couldn't go in, put a sign on it saying closed for the holidays, pitched a tent in the garden and filled it with blankets and the sleeping bag I used when I was camping in Norway on a family holiday as a teen, aka really bloody thermal. I slept in the room closest to the garden for that night so I was nearby if anything was to go wrong. She was reluctant to do it, but chose it over the option of not having access to her phone until the Christmas holidays are over. In the morning, she was crying about how horrible it was to wake up on a cold mat and get disrupted sleep due to birds. After comforting her, I asked her would she like to do that every day like the homeless man. It struck a chord with her and she was crying over her actions, while even after the £20 she was rolling her eyes and her apology was not sincere. This afternoon, I came home from work to Jessica making a big meal to donate to the homeless people who live on the road near our house. I was proud of how she turned over a new leaf, and after taking the food to the people, my sister came over. Apparently, my nephew and Jessica were talking at school, and he asked her about her plans for the afternoon, and she said that she was going to cook for the homeless. My nephew asked what triggered that, and Jess told him everything, which he relayed back to his mum. My sister said that my punishment was too harsh, and just the £20 and the food bank would have done the trick, and I was acting irrationally due to my past. Now I'm second-guessing myself. AITA? NTA. Sounds like the apology and £20 wasn't enough. Walking a mile in their shoes taught her empathy. This. I would also like to point out that original post-ado gave her daughter a choice, either a learning experience or a punishment, losing her phone for break, and I feel like that made it even better. Her daughter could have ended up just resenting it if she'd been forced to sleep in the tent with no option, but because she chose it had more impact. Also the sleeping bag, and the blankets, and the camping experience, and the comforting her before bringing up the emotional sting. Like there are a lot of details that make this story okay. Honestly, I was ready to say YTA just the title, which may be all the details that got relayed in this game of telephone. Original post, honestly just send them this post with the real names and details. If they don't understand, stop caring about their opinion, because they are just here to start drama. Op even pitched the tent for her. And didn't wake her in the middle of the night to make her move the tent like police would to the homeless. And gave her what sounds like a good sleeping bag, which most homeless people won't have, and a bunch of blankets. I've been camping around this time of year, and live in New England, as similarly cold as Op, and having a winter sleeping bag makes all the difference in comfort. Original post could have been more realistic, but still made a point as it stands. I bet the daughter will think twice before insulting strangers again. If you're in New England, it is most certainly colder there than in Northeast England, UK. It's around 38°F at night here, 3°C, versus 26°F there, 3°C, with no significant wind chill to add on. My brother used to go camping in middle of nowhere Ontario, in Canada in winter with his wife before they got married. I really didn't get that. Minus 15 degrees Celsius or so. Those sleeping bags looks weird. Once he told me how they put their food in a cooler in winter, then hiked it up a tree because of the bears. That's when I decided no sane person goes camping in winter. Camping in winter is fun. You get in your sleeping bag and undercovers to get warm/cozy. It's summer that I can't stand, you can't really do anything to reduce the heat. I love winter camping until I have to get out of my little incubator of a tent to pee at 3 a.m. I love camping in summer and winter. When it's hot in summer, I usually spend most of the day wallowing in a river doing the bare minimum to have me set for the night. We were doing that at 11 to 13 years with my scout group. Every year, we'd head out, grab our gear, the scout leaders would gather everybody together, say, "Okay guys, go." We'd grab our gear, find a small clearing somewhere in the bush and go to it. A few guys digging a site and setting up the tents, a few securing the food, and a few getting a fire going. The scout leaders didn't see us until the next morning. We loved it. I guess the madness of teens and tweens can lead to winter camping, lol. We have to do that all summer in southern Oregon. Went on a 30-mile, 48 in non-freedom units, hike. Saw 2 black bears in one day on the other side of the river. So we were able to get some good photos. But the second night we had one come into our camp. We all were in hammocks, so in the trees too. And our food was about 100 feet or so from us. Well, the only reason we know a bear was there was because a friend landed in the bear's crap when falling out of his bag. Which wasn't there when we went to bed. Ended up taking a morning. Though greatest thing to wake up to is your friend screaming bloody murder as they have a face full of crap. Makes me glad that I live in Australia. Camp here with no worries about animals trying to eat you. You do the bear thing year round. You secure food up in a tree during summer too because of the bears, and other animals, but mostly bears, at least in the US Northeast. It takes 5 minutes of work and lets you sleep knowing no enticing treats are going to attract critters to your tent. We have to use bear barrels in many parts of California, allegedly because the bears in Yosemite figured out how to get into bear bags hung in trees. Takes 0 minutes of work, but they weigh more and suck to lug along while backpacking, although you can use them as seats. I once cycled across southern England in December. I got soaked in my tent, my carrier broke, spent a day in a laundromat drying off, slept on a concrete slab one freezing night, because my tent was still wet, took to sleeping in public toilets because the alternatives were way worse. Then I caught a ferry to Spain, and repeated the adventure, one night being so cold and nowhere to pitch a tent I had to sleep in a ditch to keep out of the wind. Fortunately Spain wasn't wet like England. I was in my 20s, looking back I think I was a bit too eager to rough it, or just plain crazy. I think they're in Original Recipe England. Upvote for Original Recipe England. Does that make Maine extra crispy? If by crispy you mean icy then probably. Yes, that's what I'm referring to when I say Northeast England. It's about 3°C at night here at the moment, versus Maine, New England, USA, which is about 3°C at night, plus wind chill. It's really mild in the UK still at the moment. Depends when this took place. This week we certainly had below freezing weather. Embarrassed smiley face. Is it bad that I want to camp out in this tent? Sounds really nice actually. And she was safe in her own garden. She didn't have to worry about a stranger coming into her tent and abusing her, which may not be the case for many homeless people. In high school, we had a charity event and a bunch of students were given $5 and a blanket and told to survive for 24 hours. They had a support teacher's number in case anything went seriously wrong, but if the police told them to move they had to comply. They just wandered around the city for a day and had to find a place to sleep at night and just hope they didn't get robbed. It was really eye-opening for a lot of people. Or toss it in the bin, which is what the police do in my city. Op is NTA. Great parenting. She also didn't have obnoxious teens abusing her during the night. I love the closed for holidays sign, feels appropriate after she was rolling her eyes. I loved her daughter getting distressed being woken up in the morning by the loud birds. That made me smile. Not the butthole. As someone who lives with a pair of red-breasted nuthatches in their backyard in the winter, waking up to the noises of a territorial male bird are a great alarm clock lol. Listening to a bird version of F me I'm horny is great. At least they're a migratory species, so I only hear the cuties half of the year, right? Well then one year they decide F that gay-ass migration crap, let's F right here, and then there were 5 of them. And they are back this winter lol. Birds are great. And made sure she had proper equipment to stay warm. No crap, my ma wouldn't have. And even if I didn't know how to set the tent up, bet I was learning. Agreed, it really stood out to me that original post comforted her first, letting her know she still had a home and was loved, before helping her understand the lesson at hand. NTA. I felt the same way. But after reading until the end, I have to nah. This right here is some damn good parenting. And I feel like the daughter has redeemed herself to not be an either. I agree completely. I was also prepared to vote ta until I read it and saw that she went about this whole situation great. It did strike a chord because now she feels the need to rectify the situation on her own. Agreed, this is A+, parenting. It's our job as parents to raise good, empathetic people who will contribute positively to society. Original post is killing it. I have a sneaky suspicion that Mama cried or was up all night, that she was out there, too. Even with all of the posh bedding. Honestly, with the way the daughter has changed her perspective so much, I'd be willing to bet she's actually grateful for it, if anything. NTA op, everyone should learn this lesson. Empathy is important. That's what I think too. The words she used on that hateful video sound exactly like the obnoxious opinions you hear parroted from privileged people who have never had to experience homelessness or they don't know any actual homeless people. Op, you taught your daughter an invaluable lesson in empathy that will shape the rest of her life. That was outstanding parenting. You were absolutely NTA. And you know the kid thought, oh, this won't be a problem at all, and that's why she chose camping. I have gone camping in freezing weather when poorly prepared, doing that again. Can't imagine how crap it is for somebody whose tent is probably busted up with a constant risk of being robbed or beaten. Honestly. Op, you are a golden parent. Don't change a single thing about the way you're raising your daughters. It's parents like you who help make the next generation better than the last. Keep it up. Definitely NTA. Agree here. This is parenting done right. Many parents can learn from this woman. She's a rock star. Op, another way to build empathy could be reading the book by Paula Fox. It deals with childhood homelessness and the experience a young boy faces when he's forced onto the streets. It's grim at some points, and does include drug use and racism. It was assigned reading for me in grade 7, about 13, I believe, and I've never forgotten it. It changed how I viewed homelessness entirely. Web link. Oh, another good one is Theory of Relativity by Barbara Howarth Addard. I read that in grade 10. That's a great suggestion. Monkey Island really changed my perspective on homelessness and the way we as a society view the homeless. As a teen, it totally changed how I viewed the world. There's one line said by the older homeless man: January is when everything's out to get you. January kills people, that has never left my mind. Every winter I remember it. NTA, you sound like an amazing parent. Yes, definitely NTA. The daughter was a butthole and basically told a homeless man to have fun sleeping in the cold and being hungry. Then she continued to tell him to get a job, which is hard when you don't have proper interview clothes and access to showers, toothbrushes, soap, etc. But it doesn't sound like she has a job. You are the one supporting her. The homeless man just doesn't have support. I would just like to applaud you for how you handled the situation. If anything, you went easy on her, as according to her people camp all the time, so it will be like vacation. You would definitely NTA. I mean, the daughter wasn't in the right at all obviously, but in her defense she's 14, so probably naive to how the world works and saw her mother with 2 children bounce back, so I can see where she was coming from, especially if the guy was directly asking her for money. She's a child, shouldn't be asking a child for money. So, I'd say the kid was ESH, the mother 100%, not the butthole, and just an amazing parent all around, and the poor homeless guy is a victim of a naive child. That's a good observation on her personal experiences with poverty. She's probably also got some nasty friends, or friends with nasty parents/teachers who haven't experienced that hardship and has absorbed some of their bootstraps rhetoric. I agree. I think original post went farther than most people would have to teach the lesson, but obviously it wouldn't have worked had she not, given the daughter's insincere apology and eye-rolling. I think the silver lining of what you went through years ago was that it enabled you to give your daughter this gift. Thank you for not raising another in this world. We have enough. But here's what I don't understand. Why do people who are only hearing something second or third hand from one perspective have the impression they have the right to tell you they know what works for your kid better than the parent? Okay, so that's the premise of this entire Am I the Butthole sub, but at least we're asked for our opinion. NTA. You did a good thing here. You weren't being cruel or unusual in any way. You provided her blankets and a warm sleeping bag and you didn't force her to do anything. You gave her the option to camp or lose her phone. She clearly learned the lesson and feels genuine remorse. You should be proud of how you handled the situation and proud of your daughter for changing her ways. I totally agree. It isn't like she forced her child to sleep outside in a tent. She gave her the option and the child chose it. Honestly, I think this was an incredibly clever bit of parenting. Also, when her daughter was upset about it, she comforted her and used it as a teachable moment. And she slept nearby the whole night just in case something went wrong. I think this is most important. Sure, you could have kicked her out or even just out to the backyard without supplying warmth. That would have been a total butthole move, but that's not what you did. You gave her the experience she, herself, said was no big deal and taught her that yeah, it is. A+++, parenting here. I would have been in tears the whole time, but adamant in making sure my child learned that lesson. Super kudos to you, Op. I hope she's a better person for this experience. You gave her the experience she, herself, said was no big deal, not even. She got it way better than 90 to 100% of homeless people, an actual tent, someone keeping watch, a rich, insulated sleeping bag, and her complaints were that it was uncomfortable and she was woken up by birds. If she had to sleep rough for real, even for a night after this would pale in comparison. This is solid gold, 100, fantastic parenting. Especially because you weren't trying to simply punish her, you were ensuring she experienced what it is she was abusing the man who was homeless for. It's such an important lesson. Sometimes even if we think we're raising empathetic children, it's hard to learn without experience. Also, you now know it worked out because of your daughter's reaction and thoughtfulness afterwards. Good for you, and good for Jessica. It's lovely to know there's a bit more empathy in the world now. Edit, forgot to add NTA. I appreciate how not only did making her camp out teach her daughter empathy, but apologizing and paying for a hotel is teaching her how to rectify past mistakes. Not the butthole. And she told her cousin about how awful she had been to deserve the punishment. It shows the daughter is admitting to and owning up to her mistakes, and sharing her plans for the afternoon show. She's proud of herself, as she should be. Original post should be proud too. Grade A parenting for sure. Restorative justice first, retributive justice second, you love to see it. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.